Hello and welcome to Cozy Creeps, where we bundle up and pretend to be sitting by a cozy fire and listening to spooky tales. I'm Reagan,
I'm River.
and we will be your host for this chilling story. Hello, guys. So, I have made the executive decision that these are going to get posted on Tuesdays now. It's just working out with our schedules to record Monday night and get it on there by Tuesday. Especially because your girl doesn't edit. I don't know if y'all have noticed that your girl doesn't edit though. Oopsies. But yeah, that's kind of the executive decision. And let's see what else. So today's story is technically our paranormal one, but it's not a ghost story, it's not a haunting, it's an alien story. Oh, we're getting aliens.
Extraterrestrial.
Yeah. So this was actually recommended by one of River's childhood friends, Amulek. Um, he messaged me on, I think it was Facebook or something like that, and was like, "Hey, have you heard of this?" And I was like, "I have heard of that one before, actually." And I've been wanting to do an alien story. I just didn't know which one to pick. So thanks, Amulek. Appreciate it. So yeah, you excited? Excited for some aliens?
Yes, I've not heard of this one. I've only done like the real popular one, really just like Roswell. Even then, not like anything super in depth, but especially with all the craze of the government releasing UFO files that turn out to be just still bogus evidence. It's I think we were due for an extraterrestrial alien doohickey to talk
Woo-hoo.
about.
Yes. And this one, I will say this one is a little bit, I don't know how to describe it. So the main witnesses of this are children, so
Mm.
take that how you will. So with that, we are gonna get started. So let's bundle up in our favorite blankets, grab your comfort drink, which this week we are drinking sarsaparilla. If you've been to Costco, then you know they're selling the Fallout themed
The sunset
sarsaparilla.
sarsaparilla with a little vanilla vodka.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Just
good. Yeah,
it is really good
not
actually.
bad.
It's a really good combo. It's basically root beer and vanilla vodka, so it's delicious. We love it. But yeah, so that's our comfort drink. So grab your comfort drink and let's get creepy. All right, so this story takes place in Rua, Zimbabwe. So
Oh wow,
we are
nice.
out of the country completely. This is not a US story.
International
We're
extraterrestrial.
going international with these aliens today. So this story takes place on September 16th, 1994. And the students of the Ariel private school, which not Ariel like airplanes, Ariel like the Little Mermaid, for the record, because I know we're gonna hear that and think like, wait, this isn't a military school for like the Air Force or something. No, it's Ariel like the Little Mermaid. That's the name of this private school. And these students, they were aged anywhere from 6 years old to 12 years old. And when this all takes place, they are outside for like a mid-morning recess around 10:30 in the morning, while the faculty are inside having a meeting.
That's really early for
It's
recess.
like a mid-morning recess. They might have had a second one later, who knows?
Two recesses?
Who recesses, man? It was the 90s.
Reese's Pieces?
Reese's Puffs, Reese's Puffs.
Yeah,
Anyway,
this gets
I'm
me
trying not to
all
get sued, just kidding.
gross and sweaty right there at freaking 11 a.m. Going back
Yum.
just in time for lunch, be all musty and gross.
Maybe it was like a special situation since the staff had like a faculty meeting.
Kids running around wild by themselves.
No. There was
Supervision.
a supervisor. We'll get there. Hush. We're almost there. So to note, this plays into it later, but I want to say it here at the top. So this school is a private school, but it was in a very rural area, and in this area, from what I gathered, they really didn't have a lot of TV, which is used later to kind of discredit the kids and what they like. Half the time it's used as an argument for like why this is true, and then the other half was like, oh, this is a way to discredit them. So that plays into it. Also, by the way, gonna say here before I forget, I got most of my information from And That's Why We Drinks episode, this case, because I was trying to do research and I couldn't find actual articles on it at all. Like, I looked and it was just like people all these articles talking about a documentary that was supposedly made on this, but that's all I got. So,
Wow.
thanks, Em. That's why we drink. Thanks, Em, because I didn't know where to look anymore. I was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, the
Um,
lack of articles and evidence, it's not gonna make or break an alien case.
yeah, I guess so. All right, so moving on to a little bit of logistics about the school. There were a total of 250 kids at the school, but sources kind of varied on whether or not all of the kids were out at recess, or only about like half of them, about 110. So that was something that did vary from source to source, from what I understood of M talking about it. And the few sources I did find that I could read from, that's what it did say. Um, so there was a volunteer parent out there. They did have some supervision. One parent for all
Volunteer,
these children. Like
volunteer to
PT, like a PTA mom,
not even
basically.
paid.
No, like a PTA mom, basically. Her name was Allison Kirkman, and she was watching all of these kids while they were outside and while the faculty was in their meeting. So we got one parent to anywhere from 100 to 250 students.
So they were fenced in.
They were fenced in, to be fair. So she was actually at the snack stand that was out on the playground, which
Snack stand?
that's what I'm saying. It feels very private school coded,
Wow.
right? Like
They didn't have
that's
their friends with?
bougie. No, we weren't a private school. It was still public school.
Still bougie.
Not that bougie.
More better funded than spring, that's for sure.
I mean, that's fair.
We had the freaking tiny no name brand ice cream with the wooden spoons for our little
Hey,
parties.
we had those
Okay.
too.
I
Actually, I
guess
think
this was
ours were
pretty
the
good.
Bluebell one. We got name brand.
Well, yeah, I don't think we got a name brand.
Boop, boop, boop. Anyway. But yeah, so they had a snack stand out on the playground, which I'm like, jealous. What the heck, man? So you could just run up against some Doritos during right, jeez Louise, during recess. But yeah,
Drop your favorite school lunch in the comments.
drop your favorite snacks in the
Mine was
comments,
always the
guys.
pizza pies.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
with chocolate milk.
Ooh, actually, like when my school did like sloppy joes, that one was good. That was a good
When we
one.
did like nacho bowls, it was the best bang for your buck to me. You just load everything up, and it was actually really filling. It's pretty
Oh,
good.
never got that. That sounds fun. Anyway, not the point. We're getting so
Exactly
distracted.
the
We might
point.
be hungry. Anyway. Um, so anyway, the PTA mom who was there watching these kids, she said that while she was working the snack stand, a bunch of kids just came running towards her, screaming that they were scared by the men in black that they saw out past the playground. And I'm not really sure if it's just like she didn't believe them, or if she was just busy with the snack stand and some other kids or what, but like she just told the kids to go back and play, like leave her alone. I'm like,
Tommy Lee Jones or Will Smith?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know which one. So in total, there were 62 kids who saw this UFO, who saw this thing happen.
Wow.
That's that's a lot of kids.
It's a really specific SpongeBob reference we're gonna make, but it's gonna be too long-winded, so I'm just gonna glance over that.
Okay, understandable. Have a good day. Anyway, so the kids, terrified still, ran into the school, found the teachers and staff, and told them what they interrupted this meeting.
I need the real adult,
They
not
were
the
like,
parent.
help me, help me, help me. So they interrupt this meeting and go tell the teachers what they saw. Um, so what they told them they saw were these beings with big black eyes come out of a UFO. That's what all these kids across the board said. So the principal, whose name is Colin Mackey, told them to draw what he saw. I don't know if that was just to distract the kids so they could finish the meeting, or kind of get more of an idea of what these kids saw. Because, I mean, they're little kids. It's not like they all have the best, like, language skills at that time to really explain what they saw.
I
So
mean,
drawing it might have helped.
6 to 12 year olds, even a 6 year old, I think has a decent level of language capacity.
I
Like,
mean,
I was
yeah.
impressed when I was, 16 years old. My little 5 year old cousin at the time spoke really well for her age.
Yeah, but also, like, I know from experience, like in child therapy, one of the things they have you do is draw pictures, because it can help kids as a tool to explain what they saw and what happened, especially in a traumatizing situation like this clearly was for these kids. It just kind of helps them give more to it than just what their words can you say.
Mm.
So, who knows though what he was doing? Um, Now, when talking about all of the kids' experiences, what they saw and everything, seemed kind of 50-50 on what the kids after actually remembered. It seemed like half the kids remembered the exact same thing, while the other half just seemed like you were getting a mystery surprise toy. You weren't sure what you were going to get out of them. The general story stayed the same. They saw a UFO and they saw these men with big black eyes come out of it. That all stays the same. But then, like, the details varied greatly. Like, the color of the UFO varied. Where they saw the beings in relation to the ship varies. Like, there's a lot of minor details that vary from kid to kid. And again, like, they're little kids, you know? So I can kind of see how, in the moment they're freaked out, so it might have, their thoughts might just be a little jumbled. I get
Yeah,
it.
like I'm not gonna see the color of the shoelaces. Like, come
Right.
on.
Well, they're talking about the color of the ship specifically.
Well, I'm just talking in general.
Yeah.
Some of the details, it's not like you're trying to put them in a lineup, like which one's the alien.
Go, 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 go.
I
Yeah.
know the one's got the big black eyes.
Anyway, so here I'm just gonna give the basic general story that this that the kids, for the most part, all agreed on. Like, this is the basic understanding of what happened. So there's some form of a silver spacecraft. Some said there was only one, while other kids said there were 3 to 4. So spacecraft.
Jeez,
Question
number
mark?
2 is just like
Right. And they said they were in the sky moving towards a field near the school. So I know you mentioned earlier, hoping they were like kind of, fenced in. So they are fenced in. So the playground area, from what I found and from what Em described, it was like this big field and it's fenced in, and then there's more of a field and like trees and stuff outside of the fence. So they are seeing the craft land far behind the fence, so it still seems pretty far away from them, but they're little kids, so they run up to the fence, obviously.
of course.
So the craft dropped down on the other side of the fence from the kids, and the men in black clothes, which these clothes were described by a lot of the kids as looking like a scuba suit almost, like skin, very form-fitting, black, sleek. That's what it looked like to them.
Hmm.
And these men in black clothes came out of the craft. And then they telepathically told the kids that they needed to take care of the earth and then vanished. That is the general consensus of what happened.
Dang, it's a shame these kids don't understand nuance. Like, I'm gonna take care of the earth, or I'm gonna take care.
From what? From what we talk about later, it's like take care of the earth, like quit destroying the earth, pretty much.
Ah, okay.
So the kids claimed that they saw one or more spacecraft that landed or hovered above the field between 1 to 4 men who either stood on top of the craft or stood beside it. They either faced the children or they didn't, and then told them telepathically to take good care of the planet. That is the general-ish consensus of what happened.
Sounds like Pinocchio in Shrek 3 trying to tell him what happened, but not trying to tell the truth because he doesn't know if he's lying or not, so he's just beating around the bush to hell.
Basically.
That's what it sounds like. I've watched Shrek a lot.
Our 2-year-old is obsessed with Shrek, so we have those movies basically memorized now. Not the point. So then the kids say that the craft either flew away, faded away, or just straight up disappeared, possibly leaving one or more of the men behind or taking all of them away. This is what they got. This is what they got out of these kids, pretty much. I told you it was like a mixed bag. You don't know what you're gonna get. So basically, anything could have happened. But they do all agree they saw a spacecraft and that these alien beings talk to them telepathically. Now, to be fair, like I said earlier, these kids are aged 6 to 12 years old, and we know, especially in a traumatic event, which this really scared these kids, they might misremember things, or an older kid could say, like a younger kid could hear an older kid saying, like, oh, well, this is what I saw. And the younger kid being like, yeah, yeah, like kind of being influenced to
Yeah.
remember or believe something different than what they saw. So it can just kind of be all over the place, which does also get brought up and used against the kids later. Like it could have just been a big game of telephone. Like it's, there's a whole lot of nuance to this case.
Telepathy.
Telepathy phone, anyway. Um, However, the fact still remains that they all saw something and it scared them and it makes me believe, like, I want to believe the kids, like I don't think 60 kids are just gonna make up seeing a UFO. Like maybe if it was like 5 of them, like a group of little friends being like, oh my god, I saw a UFO, but 60, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It
That
was a
should be.
weather balloon.
It was a weather balloon. Yeah. No. But yeah, so even if the details are a little bit fuzzy, I kind of want to believe the kids. Um, Also, and I do touch on this more throughout the story periodically, but basically, like the kids, as they've grown up, some of them have been interviewed over time as adults, um, and they all still adamantly say that this happened. They've never taken back their story, and they're still just kind of freaked out by it to this day as adults. So. So like none of them have taken it back and been like, "Oh yeah, haha, we were just being kids being kids, and we scared some of the other kids." Like, no, that's never
The
happened.
aliens probably just said no take backsies.
No take backsies.
And those kids, they're taking that to the grave.
Mm-hmm. So the kids also in later interviews said that it seemed like the aliens could alter perception with the intention of making you feel safer. Like telepathically, they kind of like altered your mood in a way. Which would make sense then too as to why some kids saw something a little bit different than the others did, depending on what would freak them out more or less, I guess.
I'm a big proprietor of aliens existing, but even this seems a little far fetched.
It's it's just so all over the place, and we'll get into it more too, but like the coverage on this case and like the investigating into it was, in my opinion, it feels kind of
Well,
botched.
especially
So,
in America, this is found in Zimbabwe, so like across the world, like,
hmm
and of course, kids, and I mean, it seems at the time technology wasn't super, mainstream, prevalent. I don't know. I don't
yeah.
live there, obviously, but
Yeah. We'll touch more into that a little bit. Um So now, later in the day, it comes time for the kids to be picked up and taken home, and a lot of the kids were seen by Principal Mackey taking their parents out of their cars and walking the property with them while they told their parents what happened, what they saw. So it's like, I don't know, to me, that's kind of another point for the kids too. Like, you're not pulling your parents out of the car to be like, Mom, Dad, I saw an alien over there. Like,
yeah, like, that's
that's a
that's
lot of
cause
kids doing that.
I will say that kids that age don't commit to the bit that long.
Not that hard. So this even like so many of the kids did this with their parents that it made the principal very curious. So he also went and checked out the grounds, but he didn't find anything. So anyway, this all happens on a Friday, and the following Monday, the principal comes back to the school, basically with several letters from the parents asking, "Bruh, what the hell did our kids see? Like, what happened?" Because all these kids were just traumatized. They were so freaked out. And some of the parents
How was
actually
I meaning?
I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Do the Ruger.
Stop referencing Shrek, babe. This isn't a Shrek podcast.
Keep it
Anyway,
light.
anyway. Some of the parents actually even wrote to excuse their kids from school for a few days because of how freaked out and these traumatized they were. Like, again, I don't feel like a kid is committing to the bit that much. Like, especially not a 6-year old. Like, I could see an older kid or like maybe even a teenager kind of committing to the bit to get out of school. But I'm not seeing a 6-year old do that, you know?
No, like not for more than a couple hours at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it felt weird. So that is the initial like start point of what happened day of and in the following couple of days. Now, a few months later, the BBC gets wind of what happened. So they send over Tim Leach, who is a senior correspondent for BBC, and he goes to the school to kind of report on what happened. From what I saw, or I actually heard this one on and That's Why We Drink, but he had actually reported on like a lot of dangerous situations. Like he was a senior correspondent, so he was going to war zones and stuff.
Oof.
Um, but he said while he was investigating this, he said, quote, I can handle war zones, but I could not handle this. So I don't know if it's just like he can't handle like all the children being freaked out, just the children in general, or the fact that these kids were so adamant about what they saw. They saw aliens and it freaked them out. Like I don't know what he means by that, but I feel
Uh,
like that's something we could take to note
maybe,
as well.
I mean, maybe he felt he was just, I don't know, the guy, I've never listened to any of his journalism. This is not me, like, taking a stab at him. But, like, maybe he just, felt above that type of reporting.
I don't know if it was that. I don't know if it was that necessarily. Because, I mean, this is kind of a weird case regardless. But so he kind of falls to the wayside after this. Like, I didn't really hear much or see much about him after this. But another investigator from BBC named Cynthia Hind came in at the same time as Leach, and she was actually the African representative for MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network. This is a real thing. It still exists today.
Move on.
MUFON.
It's a weird acronym.
It's Mutual UFO Network. So Cynthia pretty much kind of becomes like the lead and really like the only investigator for this. But it kind of seems like she had her own agenda. And really, a lot of what comes out of her research and investigation also is kind of things that skeptics use against this case for being an actual case of aliens. Just because she seemed very biased, and we'll get into it. So she had actually had her own alien encounters, and while she said that she did alien investigations and went to specifically investigate this case to validate others and validate the kids' experiences, it really just came across kind of as she was trying to validate her own experiences. So
She
that
had
didn't really
UFO
help.
experience too.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, yeah. She had her own she supposedly had her own UFO alien encounter. Um, so not only that, but again, she works for MUFON and she also writes for an alien newsletter. So it just really felt like she was very biased in what was happening. And I don't know if I mentioned it in the notes, so I'm gonna mention it here. While doing interviews with the kids, you know how generally like in a true crime story, they separate out the witnesses and try to piece together the story, but without witnesses tampering with each other's statements, right?
Yeah.
She does not do that with these kids. They interview them in groups, the other kids are listening in. So that's kind of another point for skeptics is like these kids are hearing the other kids say it, and no one wants to be the one to, you know,
Say something
tattle,
different.
quote unquote, or be different. Yeah. So that's kind of another point for the skeptics
It's
there.
like, all right, we're doing assembly.
And not only that, like some people also believe she may have been like giving leading questions and like leading the kids to
Yeah.
it's just there's a lot to it. And also this was months after the initial sighting happened too. So who knows like what these kids really remember at that point or how well they remember it. Not saying that what they went through isn't real. If any of you who had this happen to are listening, I'm not saying your experience was not real. I'm just saying like from the skeptic viewpoint, that's kind of where they take it. Now, she was also joined by Dr. John Mack, who was a psychiatrist from Harvard Medical School, a Pulitzer Prize winner, and a UFOologist.
Words.
He's got a resume,
His
man.
words. Just UFO.
He's a
Ufologist.
ufologist. So, during one interview with a little girl from the school, he apparently asked her, you know, how looking at these beings made her feel, and she told him that it was really scary and she just felt something evil about their presence. And another girl said that when she looked into the aliens' eyes, they seemed interested in the kids. Like, I don't know if they mean that in like a creepy way or just in a like these are fascinating creatures kind of way.
I mean, regardless, it would be weird if there's some, weird being
Alien.
is just looking at you
Like,
like,
meow.
yeah, like you are just some specimen to be studied.
Yeah. Now, during these interviews, again, like I said before, these kids' stories just still seem to be all over the place. some saying they saw the craft hovering or that the men were pacing, while others said that the craft had landed, it was on the ground, and that the men were standing on top of the craft and not beside it. Like, it's just all over the place. Um, Now, like I said earlier, too, the general story, this is where all the stories are similar. They all saw at least one silver UFO that was shining and had a bright glow around it in the trees near the school grounds. Most of the kids came to the consensus that it was on the ground, but again, some did say it was still hovering. Um,
Maybe they're just really short.
yeah, either that or these kids who said they saw it hovering and then landed may have just seen it before the other kids did. Like they may have gotten the first real glimpse of it. Um, so many of the children knew that this thing didn't belong and they ran to the fence to get a closer look. They say that at least one being in shiny black form-fitting suit, like a scuba suit, came out, and that these beings were very short. They came out of the UFO, and many of the kids said they saw them pacing. Like, from my understanding, it sounds like more of the kids saw them like pacing back and forth than not. Now some said they walked towards the kids, while some said they noticed they were actually floating and not walking. Like they were levitating off the ground a little. Um, the kids got a better look at the beings and said they had pale faces, huge elongated black eyes that were angled inwards. So think like your stereotypical gray alien, you know?
Ah, yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah, the
The
stereotypical.
Greys.
The Greys, yes. The stereotypical gray alien with the big round black eyes that are slanted like this with the big heads, you know,
What was that?
the shiny
What was
gray
that
skin.
show?
Oh, Resident Alien.
Resident Alien. Yeah, didn't they just
That's a good
they
show.
called them the Greys?
That's what they're called in the alien
Okay, that's why I
community as
said.
well.
Yeah, that's why I said. Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they're called amongst
Maybe they just saw Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk. He wasn't a gray though, babe. Get it together. Gosh.
You know what?
You watch the show. You go watch the show.
Well, I know he's a blue alien in the show.
I mean, they have a different
it
name.
was a joke.
Okay.
It was a
Anyway.
joke, babe.
Anyway. Moving on. So one of the girls who witnessed this said that two of the beings actually got close to her and imitated skipping like she had been doing with one of her friends. So like they were watching her and her friends skipping at one point, I guess, and they started imitating it, but they were floating, so it's like they were trying to skip in the air, and she said it just looked really weird and was really uncomfortable.
And they were just doing the
Yeah. Yeah,
whatever
it
that
sounds
dance
weird.
is.
What is that? I don't know what that is either.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway,
It's not
let's
steak
do
and
the
eggs.
jerk.
I think it's the jerk.
I think it's the jerk. I don't
Or
remember.
90s kids will know that one.
Woo! So all the kids said that they felt like they couldn't look away from these beings, even if they wanted to, like they're scared, they want to, they feel like they can't. Some of them said that the beings were like looking into their souls and that they were talking to them in their heads, so, you know, telepathically communicating with them. And some of the kids actually said that they were shown like almost what felt like a slideshow of just natural disasters. And this is several different kids saying that. It's not like one kid being like that, which again, to me lends to credibility. Like, I don't, like, especially if these kids don't have access or don't have as much access to regular media that would have, I guess, been prevalent to like us in the 90s in the US. Like,
I wasn't even born.
I mean, we weren't even born yet, but you know what I mean. Like in the US in the 90s, TVs were a pretty commonplace thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So what
so,
you're saying they should have described the disasters they saw and
well, they did.
cross. Oh,
They
they did.
described the different disasters that they saw, like oceans drying out, things like that. But it's like, again, if they aren't as exposed to, I guess, like that kind of media that like in the 90s in the US we would be, then like where would they have gotten that idea from, you know? That's where I was going with it. Sorry. That was a long-winded way of getting there.
Well,
But that's kind of my mindset of it. Again, like I'm not saying these kids just didn't have absolutely any access. Like these are private school kids. I'm sure at least a few of them had a TV somewhere, like
yeah, on the snack table.
on the snack table. No, it was not on the snack table. Like I get it, it was rural Zimbabwe, but we'll come back to that actually. I'll come back to that point. So some of the kids felt like the beings were telling them to use technology wisely, like not to
Oof.
get so technologically advanced that, you know, we're destroying the earth.
A little late for that.
Blink, 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 blink. If y'all could see my face, if you're on YouTube, you can see my face. If you can't, I think you know the face I'm making. Um, I think you can take a wild guess what it looks like. So the kids also said that it felt like time was warped and that it was off, like it had slowed down. It just, time was not moving normally while the beings were looking at them. And then just as quickly as these beings showed up, they left, they vanished. One girl said that she remembered them leaving when the school, like she heard the school bell ring, and that's when she remembers them leaving, almost as if these kids had been brought out of a trance by the school bell ringing.
Saved by the bell. Ah, reference 90s kids.
Anyway, bye bye. So now Cynthia Hind and Dr. John Mack, coming back to them, they actually spoke with the teachers as well, and the teachers didn't necessarily believe that the kids saw aliens and an alien spacecraft, but they did believe the kids' fear and what they were experiencing was very real. Like the kids saw something, they just don't know what, and it really, truly scared and traumatized these children. Like, there's no faking that. Not really, you know? So, Cynthia had also brought over another man named Gunther Haufer, I think is how you pronounce his name. And he brought his own UFO equipment to test for any anomalies. However,
What kind of
let's.
equipment are we talking here? Tinfoil
This
hat?
is this is where skeptics will come in again. The equipment was homemade.
Nice.
So take that with a grain of salt. Now, shocking, I know, but the equipment didn't find anything unusual. I know that's crazy. I know y'all thought it was going to find something. It didn't.
Crazy magnetic field. Didn't bring out the REM pod, spirit box.
That's for ghosts. What do you
I,
mean? They'd want to be testing for radiation and stuff. That's usually
you
what
know
they go
what?
for.
You got the same amount of benefit. It's nothing.
Shush. Anyway, they actually did send off soil samples to the University of Zimbabwe as well. Because, like I said, like at a lot of UFO crash sites and alien crash sites and stuff like that, one of the main arguments is like, oh, there's like a spike in like a certain radiation level or something in the soil.
Oh, it's
So
point
they
oh
did.
0.01 to point oh 0.02. Oh no, it's still in the threshold, and wow, a banana produces more radiation. I
Dare.
watch Kyle Hill on YouTube, so I know more than the average bear about radiation and nuclear studies. Probably not, though.
Anyway, anyway.
Anyways,
So they did send off the soil because they said the craft landed, so maybe, there was something different in the soil. Who knows? But nothing came from that either. So the research from this incident that Cynthia Hind and Dr. Mack wrote was never formally published into a report. But when they wrote their own just individual reports about what they had found and what the kids had said, they both stated they believed the kids. They fully believed the kids. Now, skeptics will think, oh, sorry, had an air bubble. Skeptics think that this may have just been a case of mass hysteria or a case of the kids making up a story and none of them wanting to be excluded or being the one to rat everyone else out that it was a lie. Um, and they also believe that the reason that this story even got so popular to begin with was because of Cynthia Hind herself. She really, really pushed for this to get into the limelight, and she was an investigator with BBC, like I mentioned earlier. So it was pretty easy for her to kind of use her contacts and use her connections to get this out there more. One of the students who had been interviewed later on had said that it was real, that they still fully believe what they saw. They saw aliens, they saw UFO, but they really doubt that anyone would have heard about this case had Cynthia not made such a big deal about it. Like, it
facts.
wouldn't be as big of a deal as it is. It wouldn't be as well known. So this leads many people to believe that this story getting pushed out more and more by Cynthia Hind and Dr. Mack was just leading the kids to double down on the fact that this story did happen. Like, they're doubling down, like, yeah, it happened,
Hmm.
Because, at that point, it's making international news almost. Like, they
Yeah,
don't
you
want
don't
to,
want to look
yeah,
stupid,
they don't want
even if
to,
you're.
they don't want to admit to that. Like, that's where a lot of skeptics go with this. Again, just because of the age range of these kids, I could maybe see, like, the 11, 12-year-olds having that logic, but any younger, I don't see them having that logic necessarily. But
It's the potential is there.
I'm going with the back. I'm trying to give the back and forth as best as I can. Um,
Nah.
Now At the time, Cynthia was so adamant about this story and pushing it out and saying that it was real because in Zimbabwe, 2 nights before the sighting, there was a rocket in the area called the Zenit 2 from the Cosmos 2290 satellite that had launched out and was re entering the atmosphere, and this caused the illusion of fireballs flying through the sky. So, you guessed it, a lot of people were calling in to say there were aliens invading Zimbabwe. So, I think basically her logic of this was, well, this was a separate event. This happened 2 days later. Like, the kids saw this in broad daylight. That was kind of her argument for it.
I mean, yeah, I'll
But
agree with
also,
Cynthia because like those two things are unrelated.
but this was all over the radio, and while they may not have had easy access to TVs, they probably did have fairly better access to radios and newspapers at the very least. So the kids could have probably heard about it through their parents or through neighbors. Um, So Cynthia heard this story though on the radio, and that's when she started to call around her contacts through MUFON to almost like skeptics say she was calling all these people to kind of give the story more credibility, to help give this backing more and more when she heard the story of what happened to the kids. Is she's trying to find someone who makes it sound more credible, like Dr. John Mack.
Hmm.
Um, So she actually also got access to the kids' drawings that Principal Mackey had them do, but she was only really showing the quote unquote best ones, aka the ones that looked like your average UFO drawing that a kid would do. Those were really the only ones she was showing to the public. She wasn't showing all the drawings. She was showing a select few.
Of course.
Now, she would also claim that the craziest part of these drawings was that none of them would know what UFOs looked like because they didn't have access to TVs or movies. Again, really playing into that this is rural Zimbabwe kind of deal.
I can't
But
draw a dinner plate. Oh no.
like the point I've been kind of making the whole time is it was 1994 and these were private school kids. I'm sure at least one of them had seen what a UFO looked like in some form of media, whether it be like a storybook, a comic book. In just there's different ways
Yeah.
they could have seen it other than TV and
Like I
movies.
guess like newspapers
Yeah.
would be the closest thing. Is
And also again, like these are wealthier people in this rural area. I'm sure some of them had a TV in the house. Like that wouldn't be surprising to me.
I don't know how many like really popular UFO movies or TV shows there were in '94, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna look it up now.
That's
I
fine.
was about to, but I'm not going to.
Yeah,
Because I think Independence Day was '96.
I think so. I don't remember.
I don't either, but it was like pre-2000s, I think.
Yeah,
But
I
not
don't.
that early '90s.
Yeah, but also, some people kind of bring up like the demographics of these kids because again, they're trying to really emphasize that these kids are from rural Zimbabwe, so they're really trying to lean into that rural, don't know a whole lot about the major world, don't have access to major media, kind of like they're playing into
I
that.
don't know, try to say they're stupid
Ye-
because of where they're from.
Yeah, and
Mm.
play into it with race a little bit, like all of that. But these kids all came from different backgrounds, not just privileged kids or, these rural backwoods kids. Like that wasn't it. It was a very diverse group of kids still. Um, so I'm sure, again, some of them probably had access to know what a UFO looked like. Um, Now, anyone who had access to a radio or a newspaper would have heard about the recent sightings and been able to say they saw something, which again kind of leans into like maybe the kids heard the adults talking about it and kind of made up the story in their heads. Like it goes both ways.
It's a very everything is just happenstance and circumstance and he said, she said,
Mm-hmm.
BS, and
No,
sounds like the whole thing.
yeah. Now BBC did actually come out in an article, um, saying like that the people who were pro UFO trying to prove aliens are real, this is proof, were emphasizing that these kids were rural African children who didn't have popular media, aka kind of leaning into more of a slightly racist subtext to say, like, how would they have known what this looks like if they're from these African rural countries? Like, again, leaning into that. So take it how you will. That was kind of the story they kept trying to run with it. And again, like I said earlier, this was a very diverse demographic background of children. So take it with a grain of salt how you will on that one. It but for a lot of skeptics and even BBC coming out and saying it, it just sounds like they were kind of pushing
Okay,
a
so
slightly racist rhetoric to get their point across.
what's new?
Shocker, I know. Um, Now, some also say that Cynthia and Dr. Mack were very biased and were leaning towards a pro UFO ending to the story, and they went into this whole thing with their blinders on. They were like, nope, it's UFOs, it's aliens. They went into it, that's what they believed, and rather than truly investigating and seeing, maybe the kids saw something else, maybe it's like they said earlier, mass hysteria. Like they just went in kind of with blinders on, like it's aliens. So I've already talked about how Cynthia was biased. We've already covered that. But Dr. Mack also has his biased background.
I was there at Roswell. Probably not.
So, oh, I thought I put it in the notes. Gosh, darn it. Okay, so Dr. Mack, just to kind of give a preface. So, like I said earlier, he was a psychiatrist from Harvard Med School. He won a Pulitzer Prize, which is it's a big deal. I forget exactly what it's for, but it is a big deal.
I think it's
But
authoring.
I think so. I think it's for being an author. But from what I remember when listening to And That's Why We Drink, M had said that he had tenure. He was a tenured member, a faculty member at Harvard, and he quit to do like be a UFOlogist full time.
Hell yeah. And I guess.
Prestigious American Award recognizing exceptional achievements in journalism, literature, drama, and musical composition. That's a Pulitzer Prize. There we go. Um, so he had done that, but there were also rumors and I believe an investigation by Harvard into him a bit because he had been writing a book about people's alien encounters, and it kind of came out that he may have been gaslighting people into making their encounters or their stories sound more dramatized, or even just gaslighting these people into believing they'd seen an alien when maybe they hadn't.
Mm.
So there was a bit of a sketchiness behind that as well. So, with all that though, as I've said throughout the story, even as adults, these kids from the sighting adamantly stand by what they saw. There are a few of them who even go and give talks at like alien conventions and give interviews about the sighting and other encounters that they may have had throughout the years, if some of them had extra encounters, or, just the fear that they had from this experience. So, regardless, these kids as adults are still standing by what they saw.
Still holding on to that?
Yeah, they're still standing by it. They still fully believe they saw aliens, they saw a UFO. So,
That's quite the hill to live on.
that's the hill they're gonna die on. So, that is the Ariel School sighting. What you think?
Kind of sound like a whole lot of nothing, honestly.
Yeah, I hope I did it justice explaining it. To me, it just sounded like listening to it and reading about it, it just sounded really, really chaotic. And I even felt like I was saying the same thing over and over. So I'm really sorry if that's what it sounds, if it's just 45 minutes of me saying the same thing over and over.
I forget that his name and It's Always Sunny, but Charlie Day's character. I just see the meme of him on the chalkboard with the red lines connecting everything. It's just a circle and there's no conclusion. There's no beginning,
Yeah.
there's no conclusion. It's just a nothing burger,
Yeah.
essentially.
I personally, I want to believe the kids. I want to believe the kids, especially, like I was saying, the younger kids, because I feel like they may have gone along with it for like an hour or two, but I don't think they were going along with it to the point of dragging their parents around the school to check things out, of being freaked out and traumatized. And I do believe, based off of what teachers were saying and what parents were saying, even if it wasn't aliens, these kids saw something and it scared them and it traumatized them. And
The-
maybe that's how their brains just reworked it. I don't know.
Yeah, like what what my perspective, like what the kids saw, what they saw was real. Was it real? Eh, Probably not, in my opinion.
Who
But what they
knows?
saw was real, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They saw it, their fear and their trauma is very real. And I don't want to take away from that because obviously, like I said in the story, a lot of those kids were traumatized and still are to this day from what they saw. So,
Unfortunately, the nature of this type of experience, along with actual paranormal spirits experiences, are really hard to collect actual evidence. And I'm a big proprietor, and you know, being open minded. I want to believe in spirits. I believe in aliens. Like, but there's got to be like better evidence.
yeah. And this case, I feel like there's just not enough of the actual evidence. It's really just eyewitness testimony of a bunch of children, which is hard to really base as evidence, especially like since we do true crime here too. Y'all know, like you all know, if you listen to true crime, eyewitness testimony is one of the least
Reputable?
reputable, least accurate forms of evidence in a courtroom. Like, because, like I said, it can be very easy, even as an adult, it can be very easy to sway someone into thinking they saw something they didn't, or didn't see something that they did, or, people's memories aren't the greatest either. Like, they've done plenty of studies talking about, like, eyewitnesses and how really they're not the most reliable. So, that's
Yeah, like people can.
that's what makes this one hard is because it's based solely off of this eyewitness testimony. There's not like other alien stories, there's a lot more to them, I feel like. Like actual evidence, like people being like, yeah, the military just showed up out of nowhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
they took this strange metal. Like, oh, I found this strange thing. Like, there's more physical evidence almost, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, in 2026 though, like even if you have video evidence, like anything could be doctored or AI, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like I could if I physically saw and had my own experience, yeah, I would be a believer, but I don't know if I would even if I recorded it, I don't know if people would even take that as like real evidence.
Guys, I saw lightning in the sky. Ka-chow! I feel I've seen those memes with the Lightning McQueen. Anyway, sorry, that's what I was thinking in my head when you were saying that. People
It's a
not
good
believing me.
meow.
Ka-chow! Anyway, so with that, thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode of Cozy Creeps. So let's go over all my fun little admin stuff because I'm gonna keep harping on it. So we are everywhere you can find social media pretty much. We have a Facebook page, Instagram page, YouTube channel, and TikTok all under Cozy Creeps Podcast. Also, if y'all could, please follow us here on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you are listening to your podcast. We would really appreciate it. It helps us get pushed out into the algorithm more. And that would just be really awesome to help us grow that following just a little bit more. So if y'all can just hit that little follow button, it'd be so appreciated. We'd love you so, so much for it.
Yeah.
We love you so much anyway, but we'd love you even more. We do also have an email, cozycreepspodcast@gmail.com. You can send in your listener stories, whether spooky, true crime, alien, whatever you've got, send them in. I'd love to read them. I want to start doing it once a month, but I don't have any yet to do. So if you have them, send them in. I'd love to read them. You can also recommend stories like Amulek did. You can reach out to us through any of our social media pages. I do check them almost daily, so I will come across your message pretty quickly. Or you can also email us the story that you want me to cover, and we can go from there. And like I said at the top of the episode, I think we're probably going to start publishing the episodes on Tuesdays now instead of Mondays, just because Monday night recording is working out a lot better for us than trying to record before then, just with our work schedules and everything. So just keep an eye out for that. If there are any changes in the future, I will try to stay on top of letting y'all know. And with that,
Yeah, I mean, just expect them, Monday or Tuesday.
yeah,
Maybe we will have a good Sunday where we can record and get it out a day early or on time, whatever you see. But just,
maybe one
at
day.
least once a week is what we're aiming for.
That's the goal. Also, let me know if there's ever any bonus content y'all would like us to cover. If y'all have any ideas of a bonus content you think would be fun for us to do, just a short little thing. I've kind of had some ideas like doing like little tarot card stuff or telling some of my crazy stories because I've got some stories that kind of fall in the true crime category a little bit. Let
Like
me
some
know.
crazy mythology stories. I don't know why
Yeah.
that, but that I'm a big
Or just
mythology guy.
or just maybe stories that maybe don't have enough oomph to them, enough stuff to them to do a full episode, but maybe we could do a shorter little
Little
mini
short crime report.
episode. I do want to start a Patreon eventually, but I want to have some ideas going before I ask y'all to sign up for a Patreon. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully, I can get something started soon. I will let y'all know. But with that, go bundle up in your warm blankets, finish off your comfort drinks, and stay cozy. Bye.